It was supposed to be a joke. That's what I told myself when I agreed to teach Tyler how to dance, just a harmless little favor for the school's golden boy who couldn't even clap on beat. But jokes have a way of turning serious when your heart doesn't get the memo. The first night, I laughed at how stiff his shoulders were, how his sneakers squeaked against the polished wooden floor of the auditorium. He groaned, called me a merciless drill sergeant, and I shot back that he moved like a malfunctioning robot. It was all harmless teasing until he looked at me, really looked at me, with those storm gray eyes, and suddenly the air between us felt dangerous. We met in the auditorium after everyone else was gone. The place smelled faintly of dust and old velvet curtains, the kind of space that seemed built for secrets. I would unlock the side door, flick on the stage lights, and wait. And every night, without fail, Tyler showed up. At first, he was hopeless. His feet tangled with mine. His timing was always off, and I had to fight the urge to shove him into a metronome. But slowly, painfully, stubbornly improved. He started listening to the rhythm instead of fighting it. His hands, once clumsy and hesitant, grew confident on my waist, my shoulder, my palm. And the strangest part, I didn't want the lessons to end. You know, he muttered one night, panting from trying to keep up with the steps. Most guys would just say thank you and quit after one embarrassing session. I smirked. Most guys don't have an ego the size of Texas, or a teacher who insults them every 5 seconds. He shot back, but his grin was wide, his eyes glowing with something I couldn't name. That grin stayed with me long after I left the auditorium. If anyone had told me that Tyler Mason, quarterback, prom committee favorite, the guy every girl seemed to orbit around, would choose to spend his evenings with me, I would have laughed in their face. I wasn't popular. I wasn't even on the radar. I was the quiet kid who liked music too much, who hid behind sarcasm to keep people at arm's length. But Tyler kept showing up, like I was his secret ritual, something only he was allowed to have. And God help me, I wanted to be his secret. But secrets are dangerous in a small American town where football rules Friday nights and whispers travel faster than light. The turning point came during a Friday rehearsal. He messed up a spin for the 10th time, and I snapped, half joking, half exasperated. For someone who can dodge linebackers, you're terrible at not tripping over my feet. Instead of firing back, he stopped. Just stopped. His hand lingered on my waist, his breath rough against my cheek. Maybe I don't mind stepping on your feet, he said softly. It was nothing, a throwaway comment. Except it wasn't, because his voice carried weight, like a dare, like he was testing the air between us to see if it would shatter. My heart hammered, and I forced myself to laugh it off. Then wear steel-toe boots next time. But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying it. His tone, his hand, the silence after, and for the first time, I let myself wonder what if. By the 3rd week, we moved less like teacher and student and more like partners. He stopped fumbling so much, started anticipating my movements. And sometimes I caught myself forgetting the counts altogether because his gaze had me pinned in place. One evening, while the sun bled pink and gold through the auditorium windows, he asked, "Why do you even bother with me? You could teach literally anyone else who isn't a lost cause." I swallowed hard. "Because you asked." He blinked, caught off guard. That's it. That's it. I lied. But the truth was more complicated. I didn't just teach him because he asked. I taught him because being near him felt like breathing after holding my lungs underwater for years. Because every time he laughed at one of my sarcastic jabs, felt like I'd won something impossible. Because I wanted him every flawed, stubborn, beautiful piece of him, and wanting him terrified me. The auditorium became our universe. The outside world didn't exist when it was just us. Music echoing through the empty space. The creak of the floor beneath our steps. Sometimes, when the song ended, we stood too close, breaths mingling, waiting for someone to make a move neither of us dared to. And every night, as he walked away into the cool dark, I wondered how long we could keep this suspended world alive before reality came crashing in. Because reality always does. The crash came sooner than expected. One evening, I walked into the auditorium to find Tyler already there, sitting on the edge of the stage. His usual easy grin was gone. His hands gripped the wood beside him so tightly his knuckles turned white. "I think people are starting to notice," he said without looking at me. My chest went cold. "Notice what?" "That I keep disappearing. That I'm not at the diner with the guys anymore. That I'd rather spend my nights here." He paused, finally meeting my eyes. "With you." The words hit harder than any insult, any shove in the hallway ever could. My throat tightened, panic warring with a desperate, selfish joy. "And that's a problem," I managed. "It's only a problem if they know why," he whispered. I froze, my heart thundering, because there it was. The question neither of us had dared to ask out loud. Why did he come back? Night after night. Why did he keep holding on when he could have quit weeks ago? Why did he look at me like that? For the first time, the silence between us wasn't safe. It was suffocating. And I realized that teaching him to dance was never just about dancing. Tyler's confession hung in the air like a fragile note that could break at any second. I wanted to grab it, hold it, make it real, but fear has a cruel way of tightening its grip just when you need to let go. "What are you saying?" I whispered, though my heart already knew. He slid off the stage, closing the distance between us. His gray eyes, usually sharp with confidence, were softer, trembling. "I'm saying this isn't just about dancing anymore. At least, not for me." Every instinct screamed at me to laugh it off, make another sarcastic remark, bury the truth before it could destroy us both. But when his hand brushed mine, when his fingers curled around my palm like it was the most natural thing in the world, the dam inside me cracked. "I know," I breathed. And just like that, we crossed the line. It wasn't some dramatic kiss in the spotlight. It wasn't fireworks or a sweeping orchestra. It was quieter than that, his forehead resting against mine, his breath warm, his hand gripping mine like he was terrified I'd vanish. It was the kind of closeness that felt louder than any confession could ever be. But nothing stays hidden forever. 2 days later, whispers started. Someone must have seen us lingering too long, standing too close. The locker room chatter grew sharp. Teammates asked Tyler why he wasn't hanging out at the diner. Someone joked about him getting soft. By Friday night's game, the rumor had teeth. I stood in the bleachers, the crowd roaring as Tyler led his team to victory. He played like a man possessed, every movement fierce and desperate, as if he was fighting something no one else could see. When the whistle blew and the crowd erupted, he lifted his helmet and his eyes found mine in the stands. For one fleeting second, it was just us again. Then the moment shattered under the weight of cheering voices and slaps on his back. That night, he didn't come to practice. I waited in the auditorium, the lights casting long shadows across the stage. But the door never opened. My chest ached with the kind of emptiness that felt permanent. By the second night, I told myself it was over, that whatever we had was too fragile to survive the outside world. And then, on the third night, the door creaked open. Tyler stepped in, still in his football jacket, sweat damp on his hairline. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. He walked straight to me. No hesitation. "I can't do this halfway," he said, voice raw. I tried. I told myself I could just play the part everyone expects. But I can't. Not when I'm with you. Before I could answer, he pulled me into him. His lips crashed against mine, messy, desperate, real. My knees nearly buckled, but his arms held me firm. And for the first time, I didn't care if the whole world was watching. Of course, the world did notice. High school hallways aren't kind to boys who fall in love with each other. There were whispers, laughter, even a few sharp words thrown like daggers. But there were also moments of quiet support, a girl from my music class smiling at us, a teammate clapping Tyler on the shoulder without a word. Not everyone understood, but not everyone hated us either. And through it all, Tyler never wavered. When the pressure got too heavy, he'd drag me back to the auditorium. "One more dance," he'd say, flipping on the stage lights. And there, in that golden glow, the noise of the world disappeared. It was just us, feet moving in rhythm, hearts beating like the only song we'd ever need. The spring talent show became our stage. I hadn't planned to perform, but Tyler insisted. "If I'm going down," he joked, "I'm going down dancing with you." We stepped onto the stage together, the spotlight blinding, the crowd a blur of faces. My hands trembled, but Tyler's grip was steady. The music started, and we moved not perfectly, not flawlessly, but together. Every spin, every step was a confession louder than words. When the final note hit, he didn't let go of my hand. He turned to me, sweat on his brow, eyes shining, and pressed a quick, defiant kiss to my cheek. The auditorium gasped, then erupted some cheers, some murmurs. But it didn't matter, because for the first time, I wasn't afraid. Months later, the auditorium is still ours. We sneak in after dark, the same stage lights humming overhead. Sometimes we dance. Sometimes we just sit on the edge of the stage, legs dangling, talking about futures that don't feel so impossible anymore. "I never thought I'd find this here," Tyler admits one night, his hand warm in mine. "Find what?" I ask. He smiles, soft and certain. "You." The world is still messy. People still talk. But as his lips brush mine, slow and tender, I realize something that makes all the fear worth it. I only meant to teach him how to dance. But somewhere between the steps and the songs, he taught me something greater: how to stop hiding, how to hold on, how to love without apology. And under the stage lights, with his arms around me, I know one thing for sure. This dance is ours, and I never want it to end. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.